healed and moved on and doesn't care about me, it still just sucks, you know? I'm honestly really sad right now, if you can tell.
Mrs. Rivera, I will say this to you. You're foolish. You had a good thing. As soon as it wasn't a perfect thing, it made you angry. Nobody's ever going to be perfect. You most certainly are not perfect. And the next guy you get is not going to be perfect. And unless you're willing to put up with a little bit of, they say for better or for worse for a reason.
I would never, ever advise anybody to go through a divorce.
I would never tell a woman to walk through that.
I left my husband 5 months ago and I regret it. No, you're not supposed to say that. I know I'm supposed to be in my living my best life era, whatever, but no. These last 5 months have broken my spirit. They have been the hardest of my life.
Divorce was supposed to be her upgrade, her freedom, her fresh start. But if you look across social media today, the truth is hard to miss. Women are regretting divorce more than ever. And the regret doesn't take years. It hits instantly. The first night alone, the first bill without his paycheck, the first time she sees him smiling with someone else. That's when reality crashes in. She traded stability for loneliness.
Why did I divorce my husband? I divorced my husband because I was making a certain amount of money. I divorced my husband because I thought I didn't need him anymore. I divorced my husband because I had this senior position at work and thought I held the same position at home. I divorced my husband because I thought I was better than him because I had my degree now. I divorced my husband because I thought a successful marriage meant I was here and he was down here.
So why did you guys get a divorce?
Because I really wanted something different. It's very unfortunate because he was the most loving, kind person. I had all the love and support that I could have ever wanted. But I think I went through a period wanting money.
See, women think he'll fight, that he'll beg, that he'll chase. But the modern man, he doesn't. He keeps his dignity, signs a lease on a new apartment, and moves forward without looking back.
I was waiting on my ex-husband to be a bad person. I was truly waiting on him to do something so bad that it would justify me ending the marriage. Again, I was waiting on my husband to be a bad person. I stayed with the same person for 21 years, created a family. I was in the relationship 21 years, married 17. And I was married to a good man. I was married to a good guy.
Did you hear that? She admits it. He was a good man. No cheating, no abuse, no betrayal. And still, she sat there waiting for him to fail just so she can justify leaving. That's the modern divorce mindset. Even a good man isn't safe. The better he behaved, the more trapped she felt. And once he moves on, she realizes she didn't just lose a husband. She lost a kind of man she may never find again. And here's the part that cuts the deepest. While she's crying into her phone, he's leveling up. He didn't chase her. He didn't beg. He accepted her choice and built a better life without her. He replaced argument with admiration, chaos with peace, loneliness with options. And in that moment, the man she thought she could always come back to became the man she will never qualify for again. This is why divorce regrets are exploding. Not because men are gone, but because men are doing better. Men age like wine. More income, more confidence, more options. And women, they're discovering the harshest reality of all. Once he moves on, he moves up. And that's a train you don't get a ticket back on. And here's the kicker. This isn't just one story. It's a pattern. Over and over, women are finding out the hard way that divorce doesn't give them the life that they dreamed of. Instead, it gives them regret they can't escape. Here's why divorce regrets hit hard and why it's exploding all over social media. He moves up. This is the part women hate to admit. Men actually get better after divorce. He's sharper, stronger, and more focused. He hits the gym. He doubles down on his career. He learns from his mistakes. Richer, bolder, and more refined with time. Meanwhile, women, they hit walls society doesn't like to talk about. The dating market doesn't reward them the same way. Every year after the divorce, he levels up while she struggles to even find a replacement. And the irony? The more she talks about her regrets online, the more it highlights just how much better he's doing without her. And when she finally sees him with someone younger, softer, and happier to have him, that's when regret really burns like fire.
Is she thinner than me?
You have a lot in common.
So she's not younger than me, she's not skinnier than me, and she's not prettier than me. Then why couldn't it just be me?
Well, she's softer than you. She's quieter than you. She doesn't yell at me. She doesn't call me an idiot or tell me to shut up all the time. She listens to me.
And what makes it sting even worse? Once he's gone, she doesn't get another shot. Here's what women underestimate. Men don't audition for the same role twice. Once he's cast her out of his life, he's not handing her the script again. He doesn't chase, he doesn't beg, and he doesn't circle back. Every day she scrolls through his new life, it's a silent reminder. He didn't just move on, he upgraded the cast. And that's what makes the regret permanent. She thought she could always come back. She thought the safety net would always be there. But men don't wait around forever. They build new futures. And once he levels up, she can't reach him. And that wouldn't hurt so much if she had better options waiting. The dating pool after divorce is not what it was in her 20s. At 35, 40, or 45, the men she once had access to aren't even looking her way anymore. She thinks she's walking back into the same marketplace, but she's shocked to find the rules have changed. On dating apps, men in their 30s, 40s, and 50s overwhelmingly swipe right on women in their mid-20s. The supply and demand isn't equal. It's brutal math. So, while men age into confidence, income, and options, she's realizing that dating pool is shrinking overnight, and regret sets in when she sees the very men she overlooked are now overlooking her. Of course, not every man thrives after a divorce. Some struggle, but the scale tips one way, and women are starting to feel that reality real hard. And here's the craziest part. Most of them didn't even leave because they were miserable. In so many stories, you'll notice the same mistakes. She had 90% of what she needed in her husband. He was loyal, consistent, a provider. But she obsessed over the 10% that was missing. Maybe he wasn't romantic enough. Maybe he didn't post her on Instagram. So she left chasing that missing piece. What she didn't realize was that 10% was never worth losing the other 90. And the cruel truth, once you throw away 90, you don't get it back. And here's the kicker. When she leaves for the 10%, another woman happily takes the 90% she gave up and adds her own 10% on top of that. So while she's chasing spark, someone else is building a fire. And in hindsight, she realizes she didn't just lose her husband. She handed him to someone else's future. And that's why regret doesn't wait years. It shows up immediately. Most women go into divorce expecting drama. They imagine him begging, pleading, or fighting to win her back. Instead, he accepts it. He signs the papers. He moves forward. And that silence, that lack of resistance, hits harder than any argument. Because the moment she realizes he's not coming back, that's when regret begins. Not years later, but the same week she thought she won her freedom. Not every woman regrets leaving, but the ones who do, their voices are the loudest online because the pain of that instant regret hits like nothing else. And when that reality hits, humility always follows. Humility doesn't arrive gently, it smacks hard. She thought she was irreplaceable. Then she watches him be happier with someone else. And suddenly, she's forced to accept the truth she never considered. She wasn't as fair as she believed. The humble lesson? She was a chapter, not the book. And look, this isn't about saying all women are doomed after divorce. Some do find new happiness, but the pattern we keep seeing shows for many, it doesn't play out the way they imagined. And that humility gets sharper when she realizes what role she now plays in men's lives. What's worse than losing the marriage? Losing the title, going from being the wife, the main role, to being a backup character in someone else's story. She thought she would be upgraded. Instead, she became the substitute. And nothing eats away at a woman's pride like realizing she traded a permanent role for a temporary one. And that's when the freedom she wanted shows its real cost. They call it freedom, but freedom without stability isn't freedom. It's survival. Bills pile up. The kids need more. The house feels colder. And that glass of wine at night tastes less like celebration and more like escape. That's the price no one mentions. Freedom feels good on Instagram. In real life, it feels like weight. So, if divorce regrets keep showing up in stories after stories, what does that say about the choices being made today? Maybe the real problem isn't that men won't fight harder to keep women. Maybe it's women don't realize what they're losing until it's already gone. Now, let's zoom in on one story that sums all of this up. A woman sat across her husband in a therapy session. She thought she had the upper hand. With the counselor as her witness, she expected to see tears, pleading, maybe even a meltdown when she said the words, "I want a divorce." But what happened next shocked her. He didn't beg. He didn't fight. He didn't explode. He just said, "Fine, let's finalize the details."
When I decided that I was going to tell him that I wanted a divorce, I texted my therapist, our marriage counselor, and I was like, I need to tell him that I want a divorce, but I want to do it in a session so that there's like a mediator present. I walked in knowing that I was going to ask for a divorce. And so we sit down in our session. It's like really tense, really awkward. My ex was sitting there like, so why do we have an emergency session? Therapist was like, Jamie, do you want to start? And I just started crying and I was like, I want a divorce. I want a divorce. He sat there quiet. I'm sitting next to him crying. He didn't move. He didn't look at me. He didn't react at all. He just was stone cold. And eventually our therapist was like, would you like to respond? So he responded right away and he's like, fine, let's just go ahead and finalize the details. And that was that. And I just was like, I looked at my therapist and I was just like kind of stunned. Like I knew that I was ready to leave that day, but I couldn't believe that that was his reaction. There was no empathy. There was no compassion. There was no like wanting to fight for us, which I didn't think that there would be, but you just always hope that like one last try, I woke up and went to work the next day, came home. He was playing PlayStation that night. I sat next to him. We hadn't talked in 24 hours. And I said, can we talk about what happened yesterday? And he was just playing, just looking straight ahead. And he's like, what's to talk about? In my mind, I'm thinking, this is our last ditch effort to like steer the ship around, And I was like, so what are we gonna do? And he just kept playing and he was like, I already got an apartment. I already took my name off of the lease. He had done things within that 24 hours. He had opened up the filing folder of his single man life.
While she was expecting an argument, he was already making a plan. While she was bracing for tears, he was preparing for peace. And that's what makes regret instant. Because regret doesn't always hit when the papers are signed. Sometimes it hits when she comes home the next day, seeing him play video games and realizing he's not broken. He's not devastated. He's fine. And she's the one left staring at the empty space where her stability used to be. This is the moment modern women don't prepare for, when he doesn't fight to keep her, when he doesn't chase, when he doesn't crumble. Because once a man accepts her decision, his life starts moving forward faster than she ever expected. And that's when regret stops being a possibility and it becomes a guarantee. And here's the bigger truth. That story isn't rare. It's a mirror of what's happening everywhere. Women are filing thinking that they'll find better. Men accept, adapt, and they build better. And the gap between those two outcomes is where regret lives forever. So, what do we really learn from all of these stories, all of these regrets? That the bigger shock of divorce isn't when the papers are signed. It's when the man refuses to play the role she expected. She thought he would beg. He accepted. She thought he would break down. He built up. She thought he would wait for her to come back. He moved on before she even looked back. Now, let me be clear. This doesn't mean every woman who filed for divorce is wrong. Some leave for good reasons. Abuse, betrayal, situations that no one should tolerate. But the bigger picture here isn't about one individual story. It's about a cultural shift where women are told divorce will always make their lives better, when in reality, for most, it doesn't. And that's why regret keeps showing up again and again. And here's the final truth. Once he's gone, he's gone. Once he levels up, she can't reach him. Because when a man accepts the end, it's not just over for the marriage. It's over for her chances. So here's a question I'll leave you with. If men keep moving forward after divorces and women keep drowning in regret, what does that say about who's really winning in modern relationships? Let me know in the comments below. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? It's been your girl, Remi Rene here. I'll see you guys in my next video.